Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're putting a new rear tire on my 2008 Street Glide, doing some winter maintenance here. Already got a new front tire on it. We've done some other videos you need to check out on a lowering kit for the rear, a new interfering, painted interfering, some DK Customs tank lifts. We put some new exhaust on it. We've been doing a lot of work on it this winter, so check out those videos. First thing we need to do to start getting the tire off is get these saddlebags out of the way. I put a flat jack under the center of the bike that we're going to use to obviously raise the rear tire off of the lift so that we can get the axle out. So I'll show you all that as we go along. Not too hard of a job, a little bit involved, a little bit of stuff to pay attention to, but nothing that you can't do at home. So let's get started. Okay, so the next couple things we need to do is get the caliper off. In doing that, we're going to take out these two Allen head bolts right here. You need a 5/16 Allen wrench or Allen socket to do those. I'm going to bring it over, lay it out of the way somewhere. Then on the end of the axle here, there's an E-clip that we need a screwdriver to pop off. Loosen up this nut on the axle, 1 7/16 socket for that. Once we get those two things done, we can go around the other side, rotate this cam, which is going to loosen our drive belt. At that point, we're going to be ready to go ahead and take the nut the rest of the way off, start pulling the axle out, which is going to drop our wheel out of the bike. So as I said earlier, not too hard of a process. Kind of the hardest part is balancing the wheel in there, holding everything up, pulling the axle out all at the same time. Again, not a big deal, but that's probably the worst part of it. So really that's all there is to getting the wheel off. You know, obviously at that point we're going to drop the trap door out of our lift right here and drop the wheel down through the bottom of the lift. We'll have to jack the lift on up, of course, to make that happen. But no big deal. So let's get this wheel off of here. Okay, so we've got that stuff done. I started pulling the axle out. One problem I've ran into that I wasn't really counting on. Sorry about that chair. One thing I really wasn't counting on is I have to take this saddlebag support off because the axle is running right into the middle of it. So there's no way around that. I could take the bottoms of the shocks off and let the swing arm fall down, which is going to move that axle down underneath, but then there's nothing supporting my swing arm and it's just a big pain. So just 3 bolts to take this off, 1, 2, 3 back here at the back, and that saddlebag mount should come out of the way without too much problem, and we can move on with taking the tire off. All right, so got that saddlebag mount out of the way. Lost one of the nuts to it in the process, dropped it somewhere here, can't find it, but that's all right. We'll cross that bridge when we're putting it back together. So now we can go ahead and finish sliding the axle out and start wrestling the wheel and tire down out of the bottom of the lift. So everything's going. All right, so finally got the wheel wrestled out of there. That's a bigger pain in the butt than I remembered it being, but finally got it out of there. So let me reset here and show you how this wheel goes together. So there's your drive pulley once you get it off the bike. I actually pulled it off while the wheel was still kind of wedged underneath the bike, just for a little more clearance. It just sits in here. There's no bolts or anything to hold it on. It just pulls right out. It's held in, well, it's not, it's sandwiched in by the axle and the swing arm when you have everything together. But it drives these little rubber blocks in here. These black things are rubber. And that's what the inside of the pulley, those dogs there on the inside of the pulley, that's what those drive against to drive your wheel forward. Kind of a cushion is what it amounts to. So I'm going to take all those black blocks out before I take it to the tire shop to get the tires switched over. Make a note of which way they go so that when you put it back together, you get them in the right way. Basically, the pulley drives when the bike's got power to the wheel. The dogs on the pulley are pushing against the big side of the rubber blocks. But I took a picture just so I'll remember how they go back in there. So this tire that's on the bike right now is a Michelin Commander with a 2020 date code on it. It's still got a little bit of life left in it, but I'm going to go ahead and switch it out since it's wintertime. I already have the new tire. There was a local cycle shop that was going out of business, so I went in and bought new tires for the bike, even though I didn't need them right at that moment. But I bought new tires from them so that I would have them when I did need them. So like I say, I've got the brand new tires sitting right over here. It's a Dunlop Elite, American Elite. That's what I put on the front of the bike here a week or two ago. I didn't do a video on that, but it's actually an easier process than this back one is, as far as getting the wheel and tire combination out from under the bike. But anyway, I put a Dunlop American Elite on the front of it. It's an 18. This back one is a 16. So the Michelin tire, I haven't had any issue out of it. I put, like I said, it was on the bike when I bought it. I've put about 15,000 miles on the bike myself. So, you know, the tire I don't think was brand new. I'm 99% sure it wasn't brand new when I put it on, or when I bought the bike. So it's done pretty well. So yeah, I guess I could have stuck with the Michelin. I haven't had any issues out of it. But do a lot of highway riding on this. That's why it's worn down in the center a lot more than on the edges. I don't do a whole lot of, most of the riding I've done has been from state to state, so it's all, you know, down the highway. But we'll take this thing to the tire store and get the new tire put on the rim and start putting it back together. All right, it's the next day now. We've got the tire mounted on the rim, balanced. That's all good to go. We're going to go ahead and set it back in the bike again, get the axle back in it, and get this thing put back together. Okay, new wheel is mounted up. Axle's all the way through. Brake caliper bracket is back on the other side. You want to snug the axle nut down to about 20 foot-pounds. Then adjust your axle over here on, adjust your axle, which adjusts your belt tension over here on this side. They put a fancy gauge right here in the belt guard. You want to apply about 10 foot-pounds of pressure, which ain't a whole lot, just enough to kind of get the belt to move. And you want to have between 3/8 and 7/16 deflection here on this belt, right in this window. Once you get that, you want to snug the axle nut down to 100 foot-pounds, back it off one turn, and then snug it to 100 again. Recheck your belt deflection at that point, because twisting on the axle on the other side, the way you're going to turn it is going to tend to turn the axle forward, which is going to loosen the belt. So after you get that nut torqued down, you want to check your belt again. If it's loosened up too much, you're going to have to loosen the nut, readjust the belt, re-snug the axle down, and so on until you get the nut tightened to 100 foot-pounds and you get the belt deflecting between 3/8 and 7/16 of an inch. Then you want to put your brake caliper back on the other side. Those two Allen screws that we took out earlier, you want to tighten them down to 45 foot-pounds. At least those are the torque specs that it shows in my factory service manual. You'll want to double check for the particular model that you're working on. That's about all there is to it. We'll have to put the saddlebag mount back on, and that'll really be it. Like I said earlier, it's not too hard of a job, not too involved, just a few little things you got to pay attention to. Getting the spacer in the right spot back on the right side of the bike. Yeah, that's about it. So we're going to get this stuff torqued down. I'll be back. All right, wheels back on, axles back in, everything's taken care of, torqued down. Got the belt adjusted. I like to jack the wheel up off the floor and spin it a few times by hand. Run your finger underneath the tire between it and the lift, and then check belt tension again just to make sure everything's good, nothing's moved. The belt hasn't, settled down in the notches or whatever you want to say. So everything's looking good. We'll come around this side and mount the caliper back on. Like I said, 45 is on the torque on those. We got to put our E-clip back on the end of the axle here, and we'll be just about done. All right, got everything done on the putting the rear tire on this thing. Triple checked all the torques and E-clip and everything's back in there like it's supposed to be. So this job's done. I appreciate y'all watching. If you've made it this far, please check out the other videos on the channel. We've got a lot of videos on the the Street Glide here. We've got videos on cars, trucks, some scenic rides out through the countryside. So there's a little bit of something for everybody. Check them out if you haven't yet. Please subscribe if you haven't, and like this video, comment something. It really helps me out as far as YouTube showing our videos to other people. Appreciate you watching very much. Thanks a lot. Y'all have a great day. We'll be back soon.